Yeah, the researchers call them lacto-ovo-vegetarians. You know, they have to have all these fancy terms when you publish in a scientific journal. This was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And so lacto-ovo-vegetarians, they have some dairy products, some eggs, but lots of fruits and vegetables and beans and nuts and seeds. Did it help to get rid of the fish? It did. Even better as far as the diabetes and the high blood pressure risk. But what happened when they got rid of all the dairy and eggs? This study, they called them vegan. Now some people call them, you know, whole foods, plant-based eaters, or there's all kinds of different terms that have been used, total vegetarians. But the bottom line is they got rid of all the animal products. Look at this. It's really quite remarkable. They have only about 1/5 the likelihood of having high blood pressure and diabetes as those eating lots of animal products. How many of you think you can understand now why that guy walked up to me and said this one graph changed his whole life? Okay? Because he said, I got to change my diet. That's what he did. So, make it real simple. This is what we call a meta-analysis. It's where researchers, they get a whole bunch of different studies. They looked at 80 different studies. And here's the conclusion they came to. Some technical language, because it's a medical journal, but I'll make sure you understand it. Randomized clinical trials have shown that blood pressure is lowered when animal products are replaced with vegetable products in both normotensives and hypertensives. So what they're saying is, when they do these studies, these research studies, if they give people less animal products, less meat, less milk, less eggs, less cheese, less fish, less poultry, the less they take and the more they eat in plant products, whether you say they were normotensive, that means their blood pressure was, quote, normal to begin with, or it was hypertensive, elevated to begin with, either way, you're going to lower your blood pressure. Now, how many think if you get too serious about this, you could get in trouble? I mean, if you just ate too much plant products, blood pressure might just get so low that you die. How many of you think there's a danger of that? I've never seen it. Absolutely zero from everything that we've seen. And it begs the question, why are these plant foods so powerful? Well, there's a lot of explanations. In the book, we talk about the best sources of magnesium and calcium and potassium. All those minerals lower blood pressure. And if you look per calorie, the best sources, even of calcium, are plant products, not dairy. Top 10 sources in the U.S. are plant products. So I won't go through all these tables. They are in chapter 5 of our book as well. But here's what I want to tell you. This is really amazing. It's about phytochemicals. Have you heard of phytochemicals? Phyto refers to plant. So these are compounds in plants, and we usually use the term especially referring to plant chemicals that are not vitamins and not minerals, but they're compounds that have health-enhancing benefits. That's usually how they're talked about in the literature, these phytochemicals, these plant compounds that are good for you. And what's so amazing about this is their relationship to a very complex hormonal system. If some of you have medical training, you may remember studying about the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. And if some of you don't have medical training, you're saying, that's why I didn't become a nurse or a doctor, because I didn't want to have to learn all those long names, okay? Well, let me just make this simple. I know if you go to one of the speaking coaches, they'll say, never put one of these confusing things up. It's obvious DeRose knows nothing about communication. I don't care if his master's in public health degree is in health education and health promotion. He should never put a slide up like that. Well, that's why I put the slide up. Because I want you to realize that this is just so complicated. We'll spend a whole medical lecture or 2 or 3 on it or more. But I put it up here because one of the key hormones in this whole mechanism is something called angiotensin-converting enzyme. There's a whole class of drugs that focuses just on that enzyme. If you've ever taken a blood pressure medicine that ends in pril, like lisinopril or ramipril or Trandolapril. If it ends in pril, that's an ACE inhibitor. Now here's what's amazing to me. There are phytochemicals in many plant products that have natural ACE inhibitory benefits. It's like taking small amounts, safe amounts, of a blood pressure lowering compound. So I'm going to be honest with you. I just confess, I had corn today. I also had chickpeas, believe it or not. I had peanuts today. I had wheat today. I had rice. I actually had quite a bit of food today, didn't I? I had some mushrooms. Do you realize when I was eating all those things, what was happening? I was actually eating foods that were helping me lower my blood pressure. And like you correctly stated earlier, there's nobody in the emergency room tonight. I can guarantee you, throughout the state of Indiana, no one's in the emergency room in shock, their blood pressure too low, because they ate too much broccoli. Okay? You following along with me? So you can take too much of the lisinopril and you can get in trouble. You can be in that, you know, they might be putting drugs in your vein to raise your blood pressure. But not with chickpeas, or do you call them garbanzo beans, or mushrooms, or soybeans. Okay, so these plant products have these natural compounds that help you lower your blood pressure. How did they get there? How did they get in those foods? Now I can tell you my opinion. That's right. I think there was a loving creator who put them in there because he didn't want us to have all these problems, okay? Okay. We could spend a lot of time talking about weight control. We'll talk some more about that tomorrow night if you're interested in it. But let's hasten on to talking about salt, okay? That's some of my slides from my work with Native Americans. Okay, let's talk a little bit about salt. The average American is eating way too much salt. Yeah, on average, the average American eats about 1.5 teaspoons of salt every day. And when people hear that, they say, wow, I did not realize how much my neighbor was eating, because I don't eat anywhere close to that. Well, what I've learned in working with patients over the years and community groups is that if you're not looking at labels, you have no idea how much sodium you're really eating. Now, you might be a more intelligent group than most, but let's just do an exercise, and let's see how good you are at sodium content. Is there a grocery store around here anywhere? What? I don't know this area. It's my first time ever here. What? A Meijer. And where is Meijer in relation to here? Or a Kroger? How would I get to the Meijer or the Kroger? Okay, so if you're wondering where a grocery store is, Greg up there has the direct. How long would it take us to get there? Okay, so we don't have time to go there tonight, huh? As a field trip? Well, let's just do this. Let's go there in our mind's eye, okay? And this half of the room, I don't want you to look at the labels, but I want you to everyone pick a different bag of corn chips, okay? Corn chips. Each one of you is going to buy a bag of corn chips. And each of you, again, don't look at the labels, you're going to each buy a box of corn flakes, okay? We're going to come back here, and we're going to look. Sodium per calorie or sodium per serving, either way, and we're going to compare. And the question I have